Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today we are rebuilding a deck I built by myself 25 years ago. As a matter of fact, we were able to still use the old footings from the old deck. They're in such good shape. And then we framed this deck all in Outdure aluminum framing from Australia. And now we're getting ready to lay down the decking, which is TimberTech AZEK Cypress. It's grooved because we're using the grooved clips that Outdure supplies with their framing to be able to lock the boards into their frame. It's a really unique feature. Most hidden clips don't have a way to lock themselves into the frame. Okay, so it's called a twist clip, and they're a black clip. Outdure framing system, regardless if it's a 2x2, 2x4, 2x6, or 2x8, one side has a grooved side and one side has a flat side. So the last deck we did, the Soldano deck, we used this side up because we had a waterproof bladder. This deck's really low to the ground. I only have 12 inches of clearance, so we're gonna use the groove system this time. So they have a clip that you put in like so, and then you twist it and it locks in. It still can move and slide, but then once you have that in, the board cannot be removed. It will not come out of the system, okay? So every 5 boards, we'll straighten our run, and then we'll add a screw right here. Once we have our boards nice and straight, we'll pin about every 5th board, and then we'll just keep going. So the longest part of laying this deck is actually getting the clips installed, which Thomas is doing right now. I got the first board ready to go, but I have to make a frame for a hidden panel. So I'm going to get some measurements right now and get the frame made so that I can figure out how to get this panel cut, and then we can start rocking and rolling with this decking. So far what we've done is we've reframed the deck in aluminum. We set all the beams right on top of the old footings, which were at the proper elevation. It worked out really slick. I only had to raise some of them up about 1 inch. We put a ledger on the house, pulled our beams up to the ledger to get the height, because we're running the decking different than conventionally. Normally you run a deck, you run the boards parallel with the side of the house. Well, on this particular deck, we're running the decking from the house out, so perpendicular, okay? So to do that, you have more beams to set than you would traditionally on this size deck, but that's okay because we already had the footings ready to go. We made our beams by bolting 2 2x6s together, and then we did our layout and ran our joists, and now we're to the point of laying decking. So we're putting all the clips. This is, like I said, the most time-consuming part is just getting all the clips in, twisting them in, and then just putting all the deck boards in between all the clips. So once that's done, it goes very fast. It's one of the fastest deck installs that we do. So why don't you follow along and see how we do. On top of that, we're also have framed up a couple of stairs, some single box steps we framed in the same product, the Outdure aluminum, and we're putting some posts and concrete right now to support the outside edge of the step. The back side is already attached. The other side step that we're doing isn't attached yet because we don't have the end of the deck figured out. We're not gonna cut the end of the deck until we know where the last board goes. Then we'll cut it, put on the outside rim joist, put in the step, and then we'll finish decking out the deck. So that's where we're at today. So follow along and see how we do. I think we better use our gapping tools because the gaps don't look consistent to me. Not at least this first one compared to the second one. This gap looks bigger, this gap looks micro. That's weird. Okay, so I have my little frame built for my hidden access panel. So it's gonna go like this in between the joists, and the boards are gonna run this way. And I think I'm just gonna run some of those clips into here and then use some Cortex screws to kind of hold it all together. And then I'll cut this reveal away in a minute after we get some deck boards laid. So let's run over there and see how this thing fits. I'm having a little bit of a epiphany here. I'm making this up as I go, okay? Nobody told me how to do this. I don't have any instruction on how to make a panel. I'm kind of just winging it. So I realized once I put these clips in, what I'm doing is I'm taking this cut line for my panel so that this thing doesn't drop and I don't have to add an additional frame to the bottom of this frame or a stopping point, which I still might do. But I'm cutting this piece right here, which is great, but I won't be able to get my panel out unless I pre-notch this clip. I'm gonna have to take out, I'm gonna take my oscillating tool and I'm just gonna cut this line, this edge right here. If I don't make this cut right here, then I'm probably not gonna be able to get this panel out, because once I cut through the top, I still have this little wedge that's gonna be holding this panel down. I won't be able to get anything, any kind of a tool in here to cut it. So I think I better do it now or I could be in trouble once I cut this panel in. So I'm gonna take this all apart again, cut these clips with the oscillator so that when I make this cut right here, this thing will open up. Technically, it should work. I was trying to cut through the top, but it's vibrating so much it wouldn't actually cut unless I try to clamp these down. But I'll actually make the cut with the saw when I cut through the decking. It's just the bottom piece I had to make sure was clipped. And then I have one more clip in here that I'm gonna wait to notch until I cut this line. So I'm gonna have to kind of pull this up and out this way to get this panel out, I think. Okay, let's try that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut this now before we continue. It'll be a little bit easier to make this cut if I do. So I'm gonna go grab the track saw. Okay, now she should fit. That looks good. I like to always leave an indicator, even though you can really tell which way this goes in. I'm gonna put a little arrow to, and then say house, just so anybody that might get confused trying to put this panel in, if they flip it over, they'll be like, oh, there's the house. The house is that way. So now we have this clipped. Oh, see that little piece I was gonna notch that I told you about? If I wouldn't have put that little cut in there, this would not come out because of these, okay? So there's another one right here. You can see it. I'll take this shim and I'll push it out, okay? That would have been a headache, man. That's a little bit of foresight. So sometimes you gotta think a little bit about what you're doing while you do it to make sure that you can get it done. And what's cool is these boards are still locked in. I am gonna put some more face fasteners right here to make sure that this line stays nice and straight. But this is your removable access panel for your water. And I'm gonna leave this one in because this is kind of locking this in a little bit right here. So that's kind of cool. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put a clip over here too and lock it in. And then it kind of keeps this gap the way it's supposed to be, which I kind of like. So when you pull this up, let's see, how are you gonna, actually, that may not work because unless you pull the panel this way first, there's a little bit of a piece of plastic right here that's getting in our way. I knew that this might be a problem. This piece right here is not allowing us to lift up straight up. Once the deck's assembled, we're not gonna be able to push and pull this a particular way. It's gonna have to lift this way. So I need to notch this out of here to make sure that this will fit. So that's what I'm gonna do next. As soon as I try to lift up this way, this is holding me back. If I push it like that, then it comes right up. So let me get that notched, get that out of the way, and then we'll see how she fits. All right, there's our panel. I'll probably put a finger pull. I'm gonna probably drill a hole right here and put a little finger pull in here so you can just grab it. And then one other thing is my saw kerf still needs to be trimmed away right here. This is holding this from getting a tight fit. So I'll go ahead and cut, I'll trim that back. I'll file this edge, I'll file that edge. And then I'm just gonna set this in place for now so that we can start laying the decking, because this is like the most time consuming part of laying this deck, is just getting this panel situated and then notching around this pipe. And then everything else is gonna be lickety splits. Since Thomas is preloading all the clips, we're just gonna move 5 at a time into place and lock and load and go. It's gonna start going pretty quick. All right, so cut that. You want me to say anything, or? Okay. All right, that's a pretty nice fit. All right, so we have our panel figured out. We've notched around our first obstruction, and we're ready to start laying a bunch of deck boards all down at the same time. So what we're gonna do is we lay 5 boards with the clip system. So the boards are locked into the deck. So technically we could just run all the decking and pin the ends and be done. But every 5 boards, we're gonna take these screws that Outdure supplies, a QB-C20, okay? It's a little T15 star drive, and this locks those clips into the system, into the frame. So we screw through the clip into the aluminum and it locks it in place. So then right now, because every time we do this, the decking can vary just a little tiny bit. So it fits the clip a little bit different. So on this particular deck, with this particular decking, this particular color and this particular length, we're getting a little bit of an inconsistent gap with the plastic clips. So we put our spacers in to make sure that all our gaps are equal. Then we're gonna set these every 5 boards so that it locks that gap in place, and then we'll just run another 5, lock it down, run another 5, lock it down until we finish the deck out. So that's what we're gonna do now. All right, guys, thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it. If you learned a little something about aluminum framing or how it intersects with PVC decking and locks together and becomes a really nice flat decking surface, click that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. I'm not sure if you guys will be back here before we start our next project. So if not, I hope you enjoyed this build, but hopefully we can get you one final look before it's all finished off. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.